All right, back at it, yeah? What's up, y'all? My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. Today is the 25th of March, 2026. This is a video on our main side, okay, one of our fourths to In The Image Clothing Company. This is where we allow the body to work. Our slogan being allowing the body to work. How do we do it? Why are we a clothing company? Well, here you go. There's only one way the human body could ever work. Now, you might think I have a claim or an opinion on it that I'm trying to push. No, the human body is just a mechanical machine placed onto this rock in space that is our Earth. There's a lot going on that is mechanics. Let's talk about this. Let me tell you the video's title. All right, we do a lot here under the gift of video, as I call it. Permanent documentations is what we can do when we film something like this. So, the human body. It just has to work how it works without anything altering it. I told you I'd tell you the video's title. Side seams and breathing. Let's really talk about this. As we do, we discuss the anatomy of the human body in depth. We give a lot of free modifications in clothing to not alter the body. This is the point with the human being. It truly just is a mechanical machine. It's got hinges, levers, and rotations. It's just got operations from its neutral position in all of its functioning throughout the entire body. There's only one way that it works, okay? It's always been the exact same. It always will be, designed in the image of God. God is unchanging, also called the truth, the same yesterday, today, and forever. There's our clothing company, okay? In the image of God. We're designed in the image of Jesus Christ. Here's your clothing company. Anything that clothes the body. It can be glasses or jewelry, anything at all. Not just tops and pants, shoes, socks, undergarments, gloves, hats. Anything placed onto the body. It's just literal wording. The way that God clothes the fields with grass. We have to place things onto our bodies the only way the bodies work. We've got joints of material meshing with joints of body parts, for example, okay? We've got things around our waist, waistbands. We've got things around our shoes. No, well, yes, laces, shoelaces, but things around our feet we call shoes. We just cover our bodies with things. It can be a protection, and it needs to be. It's great. It's necessary in a lot of ways. To stay modest, okay? To keep us safe from the environment, the elements. Clothing is amazing. But what happens is we get into chronic patterning. Scar tissue builds up in the body and bone spurs build up in the body because we're trying to work around things like these. Oversized clothing, imbalances of any kind in clothing. Keep in mind, this is just anything placed onto our bodies. We use this literal wording of clothing our bodies with something. Our bodies are designed by God to work. Before we place anything onto them, they have to try to work around or work through or do something inside of. Everything we do in our lives, we're doing it in and through our clothing, okay? So we have to address that first before we can address anything in our lives. We can't be struggling to just get to our life, through our clothing, all right? So imbalances of any kind in clothing, there's a lot to this. And this video's title, like I said, on In The Image Clothing Company's main site on the 25th of March, 2026, is side seams and breathing. If you can hear Dante panting, my standard poodle, he's here as well. I've got some shade here for him. Okay. But we walked over here to film this video because any kind of imbalance that could be in clothing, it could be side seams, the seams down the sides of our tops, the seams down the sides of our pants, or down the sides of our bodies at all. We've got rotated seams in modern 2026. Robots stitch our clothing. So clothing will go down a conveyor belt, okay? It'll get stitched on one side, and then the clothing gets flipped around and stitched on the other side. And so either it's stitched in the same direction on either side as they flip it around, and that rotates the entire body when our bodies have their own rotations. Because if we've got one side of a stitch going backward and being pinned down and stitched flat, and one side of a stitch on the other side of our bodies is what I mean, on these side seams of clothing, going forward and pinned down and stitched. Now our clothing rotates on the outside of our bodies, but our bodies are within our clothing, and they need to stay centered. We've got things like collar seams. In the Image Clothing Company's rotated seam modification, in the Image Clothing Company's dreaded collar seam modification, we've got these things that we call collars They need to be evenly around the circumference of our neck, okay? We've got even opposing musculature from the center line of the body, and that's what it needs to stay as, is even. So if our collars aren't sitting around our neck even, well, there you go, an imbalance in clothing. Zippers, buttons, pockets, just discrepancies, meaning anything different left to right, front to back, in any clothing design placed onto the body at all. Well, we've got these things universally shipped across the planet Earth nowadays in ways that could never possibly have happened in the past until we have the technology to do that. And so now we're getting into universal patternings through our universal clothing design that we're wearing. It's at least fairly universal, you know, across the Earth. And yeah, our body's working around these things they can't. We've got things like ropes introduced to the body, shoelaces, drawstrings, anything tied on or around the body with one side over the other. Well, we've got a video here under In the Image Clothing Company's main site titled Right-Handed Knots versus Left-Handed Knots. Okay. Essentially, we need right-handed knots on our left side and left-handed knots on our right side because there's two sides to the body. There's no opinion to it. The body has a center line and it meshes with Earth's center of gravity. Earth has a vertical pole to its gravity, then has this perpendicular angle that meshes with its horizontal surface. It's a 90-degree angle or a right angle, the pole to gravity that's vertical and the horizontal surface to the Earth. So we stand up on this and our bodies have a center line that meshes with it, okay? The sternum, the spine, the trachea, the nose, and our jaw. The jaw naturally stabilizing the entire body with musculature up to the crown of the head, down through the neck to some of these upper ribs, out to the corners of the shoulder. Okay, we've got a video here under In the Image Clothing Company's main site titled The Jaw is the Shoulder. Look at the collar of my top. Yes, we are a clothing company, and only for the sake of allowing the human body to work. It's for the physical functioning of the anatomy of the human being that we're a clothing company. Clothing's the only thing physically placed on us. Look at my collar of my 2 stacked t-shirts. Move. As I move the musculature of my jaw. Okay? So we have to keep our collars centered. Now, yeah, we have to stand vertical on Earth's gravity. The human being can't possibly be trained to do anything mechanically. Here's the thing, let me give some explanation because there's no opinion to this that could possibly matter or change anything. So let's give some context. You don't think I just have some kind of breakthrough claim or sales pitch. We don't have any of that here under In the Image Clothing Company that we're doing. No new information, nothing we could take credit for as In the Image Clothing Company. We're just discussing God's design of the human being, and it only does what it does. It grew for itself, you know, it grew for us. Really, God grew the body. The body breathes for itself. It blinks for itself. The heart beats for itself. The body heals itself if it gets cut. The body's just what it is. And it can't be trained to do something the way that people try to train posture, or you can gain all the muscle mass you want or muscle strength by working out your muscles excessively, only until you stop excessively trying to get your body stronger or bigger with its muscle mass or whatever you're trying to do to change your body. It'll always go back to the human body's only normal. There's a normal heart rate, there's a normal respiratory rate, the amount we breathe per minute. There's a normal body temperature, a normal amount of fat content versus muscle mass, and so there's a nice balance in the body. All the things in the body like this that there's a normal to, natural, neutral, and normal are synonyms with how the bodies function, just bodies in general. On In the Image Clothing Company, Poodles, another one of our forwards where we specialize in purebred standard poodles like Dante here. Standard is the large size and poodle is the breed, but we give information on all dogs and for all dogs on letting dogs stay natural. It's the same thing we do here on In the Image Clothing Company's main side with allowing the body to work being our slogan. We discuss everything for both us human beings and the dogs, standing, sitting, walking, eating, breathing, sleeping, hydration. We're doing all these things though through our clothing, and we're just human beings and we just understand how the body works well here under In the Image Clothing Company. And so the dogs, they've got collars, leashes, harnesses, bandanas, slip leads, anything placed onto or around the dog. We've got these domesticated dogs that are taken from their wild natural environment, put into our modern man-made world that we place onto God's natural earth. They're getting damaged, you know, if we're not intentional. So we'll discuss more of In the Image Clothing Company poodles throughout this video somewhere if we do, but there you go, some context. Because Natural, neutral, and normal. These are synonyms. So the body works in its normal position, which is neutral between two sides of each function, and that's just how it would naturally be until we alter it as human beings. All right, so this is the thing with the body's functioning. The human body only pulls. It's a video we reference here often under In the Image Clothing Company on our main side currently, okay? Even in what seems like a push, our bodies are just pulling musculature together on the back side of a hinge to extend the hinge. We pull to close a hinge, we pull to extend a hinge. The muscles connect to the bones through ligaments. That's not the case, but tendons, okay? And the muscles pull on the bones to just move the hinges. The human body is just mechanics. A video here under In the Image Clothing Company's main side. The body is just hinges, levers, rotations, functionality, measurable mathematical angles of bends in the body and motion that it has. There's just a, quote, full range of motion, unquote, okay? A video under In the Image Clothing Company's main side here. Everything has a full range to all its motion, and then you have the bones hitting into each other, and you can't go any farther. There's nowhere else you could go. So this is only happening if we allow our bodies to reside in their neutral positions. The human body can only ever work activated as a whole. Everything in the body's there. It's got its own individual role to play. And so it's all got to work together as this kinetic chain. It's all connected. So no compensation can happen. Where if we've got parts of our bodies not able to do their natural function, other parts of the body can't make up for that thing's role because they're all playing a different role in the body. Everything that's there. The hand is different than the foot. The jaw is different than the hips. Everything in the body is helping the body just stand, walk, eat. Anything we do, here's the thing, breathe, sleeping and everything, but side seams and breathing. Let's talk about this. We've got a video under In the Image Clothing Company's main side here titled Side Seams and the Core. And a big focus is what I referenced, one of our free modifications we give in clothing just to allow the body to work, In the Image Clothing Company's rotated seam modification. So this is the thing with side seams. They're coming down the sides of our bodies. So seams coming down our armpits, in our sleeves of our tops, seams coming down the sides of our tops, okay, right next to our rib cage, seams coming down the sides of our pants, from the hips down to the ankles, from the hips down to the knees in shorts, okay? Side seams. The thing is, we have sides to our bodies. Our arms just hang down with Earth's gravity, and that's the neutral. As I was saying when I was saying it's impossible to train posture, the body has even mathematical opposing bends to stay vertical on Earth's gravity's pull. There's no possible opinion to it. You can measure it, Let me say this. In the Image Clothing Company podcast is another one of our fours where we have discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ. You don't have to be religious or believe in anything, but truth is truth. We're all human beings, the same thing, placed on the same earth, designed by the same God. It just is what it is. Before we had the opportunity to develop a belief, you had to get here in order to be able to try to believe how you did, Anyway, we're on episode 204 of In the Image Clothing Company podcast as of today's date, the 25th of March, 2026. We just have deep insights on life be given there, okay? But yeah, Measuring Truth is episode 200, as far as I know, of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. All right, you can measure the truth of this. There's no opinion. You can't train posture. It's impossible. The body has even mathematical opposing bends. So from the horizontal surface to our earth, starting with our feet flat on the ground though, okay? And I understand. Blunt, bold, raw, and real. I get the airplane noise. I can hear it, okay? If you can hear it, that's what I'm saying. I understand. Surrounding sounds. It just is what it is, okay? A date-marked documentation. To show congruency, it's our insurance policy in the ways that it is. And it's just free information that you can still get through these videos, even with the sounds around, okay? Under In the Image Clothing Company, this is how we do things. It's just authentic. If you were just here and I was speaking to you, there'd be noise around if there was, We've got ways to drown out the surrounding sounds with technology, in our microphones, but this is natural, just to hear what's going on around. Check this out. The feet flat on the ground. This is the term zero drop. In any brand of shoe, just meaning flat. On the bottom of our shoe, the sole of our shoe, this is how our feet work. God designed the human being to work, and it only works how it does. Until we make man-made products to put onto the body wouldn't be being altered by things. You know, I filmed a video down in beautiful St. George, Utah in the fall of 2025, November, titled, "The Feet Only Work Barefooted." So shoes can be a covering for our feet, just as long as they don't alter the feet's functions. We've got feet down at our foundation, opposing the center line of the human being, gripping arches inward, and that's how we stay vertical on Earth's vertical gravity pull. We've got a lot happening in the feet. Different length toes is the video's title here under In The Image Clothing Company's main side. We've got different length toes if you do, you know. We roll evenly off the ends of our 5 different length toes, and your body could be different in whatever way it possibly could. Something like this maybe. Amputation, deformity, birth defect, major surgery, anything that sets your body apart a little bit or quite a bit in any way. You can only be set apart from something, which is the universal human design. And we do have to do all that we can in our own individualistic situations to do things like get out of chronic patterning, or maybe with like an amputation, you add a prosthetic limb just for the weight, to get as close as we can to the universal human design, to mesh with Earth's gravity, to be able to breathe still and stabilize through our entire body with every breath we take, because that's just how that works. Our body has to stabilize as we breathe. The jaw's stabilizing, the feet are stabilizing, the hands are stabilizing, but the whole body is playing its roles where it is. Just all connected, all together. Everywhere any part of your body goes, all of it comes. So with the feet flat on the ground, this is their neutral. We can then lift the toes up, which is dorsiflexion, or we can point the toes down, which is plantar flexion. We've got to start here first, flat on the surface of the earth. Okay, that's the bottom of the shoe. Zero drop, the term in any brand of shoe, but the top of the shoe is half the function as well. We lift our foot up to step forward, then we put the foot down, but then we lift it up. It's just the opposition, like these opposing muscles. We pull to close a hinge, we pull to extend a hinge. There's always opposing sides if there's motion in a machine like the body, just a mechanical machine like this, or else you just move one way and you'd be done. You have to have an opposing side to come back to, you know. So yeah, In The Image Clothing Company's shoelace technique. It's nothing to do with us. We don't own it. We don't get anything from you using it, but we're just weaving ropes across the top of our feet. Okay, we call them shoelaces, but all these bones, ligaments, tendons, and muscles in the feet that grip arches with the foot tripod, the different length toes, the pronation, supination, dorsiflexion, plantar flexion, internal rotation, external rotation, and everything happening in the feet. There's a tripod that just is that arch underneath, and just traveling up, supporting the entire body. We can't alter the feet. So there you go. Okay, the feet. You got to start with the feet first before you can ever talk about breathing or doing anything in life. If you have feet, they're your lowest point, supporting your whole body on Earth's gravity, because everything will be altered traveling up. The natural bend in the knee, a video under In The Image Clothing Company's main side here. The natural curve in the spine, a video under In The Image Clothing Company's main side here. All the way to the tip of the head and the tips of the fingers, your body will be altered and damaged if the feet are altered. Okay, so watch this. Earth's vertical gravity pull and its horizontal surface beneath it, this 90-degree angle, our feet just stand on the surface of the earth. Our ankles bend backward, our knees bend forward, the hips bend backward, the low back bends forward, the mid back bends backward, and the upper back, which is just the neck, the cervical spine, bends forward. So as I say, come back in 100 years or however long, 60, 80 years, it doesn't matter, even longer, our information will still be valid under In The Image Clothing Company. As long as we're aligning it with the truth of God. I just know that it sounds very opposing what a lot of people say, trying to train the body, trying to get it to do something. Our bones are just the shape and length that they are, and our muscles are just the shape and length that they are as well. The body only has one way it works. It resides in its neutral positions. So just standing up on Earth's vertical surface, well, Earth's vertical gravity pull with our feet flat on its horizontal surface, we stand up, centered, or we lean left. from the centered, neutral position. We can also lean right, back to the centered, neutral position. Okay, we can lean forward from the centered or neutral position, or we can lean backward from the centered or neutral position. There's only one way the body works. It's mathematics, mechanics, physics. Okay, so breathing is a big thing. Now we've got some baseline understanding that we don't have a claim here under In The Image Clothing Company. It has nothing to do with me, Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. That's why I say it like this: don't believe us. Me, as I said, Evan Strong, the founder of In The Image Clothing Company. I'll be doing this for my entire lifetime, but don't believe it. Truth is truth. It's apart from all of us. So that goes for our team members under In The Image Clothing Company, even our poodles, right? With any of our information, don't believe us when we're saying things that don't seem like they're quite correct because you've heard things that aren't the same. Let's find the truth. Truth is something we don't get to decide or change as human beings. It's apart from all of us, just like the fact that our bodies just grow for us. It's apart from all of us. You don't make it happen other than just eating food. But then that's only earth, and then the earth becomes your body. We're pulled from the clay, as it says in the Holy Bible. We're literally just what we've eaten. Once we die, our bodies decompose back into the earth. It's just what it is. No opinion to truth, all right? It's not my choice, though, okay? None of ours as human beings. So this is the thing. Side seams and breathing. Well, we've got these side seams on our clothing, where we do, okay? But in modern 2026, like I was saying, we've got rotated seams often, okay? And not only that, but just the design of clothing, it's just what it is, and it's not so great in a lot of cases, okay? There's only one way the body works. And if our clothing doesn't work for the body the way that it works, the body's damaged. So this is the thing with breathing. What we're doing is expanding and contracting these bones, okay? Encapsulating our lungs. So in the center line of the body in the front, there's a sternum. This bone is vertical. We've got rib bones connecting to the sternum, and then wrapping around the body on either side and connecting into the spine. So individual bones are wrapping around the body's torso, because inside of there we've got lungs, essentially like balloons, okay? We contract our muscles, the diaphragms, okay? The human body only pulls, so muscles pull to open this void space inside of our chest cavity and our lungs. And as this happens, there's a difference of pressure from the air in our atmosphere into our bodies inside of our lungs, and the air rushes in, the oxygen that we breathe, okay? And so as this happens, this is us breathing in or inhaling. Our rib cage expands. It's being filled up with air, okay? These muscles, the diaphragms, are pulling open this space. It's getting bigger. Our rib cage would naturally expand and contract in 360 degrees, just meaning all the way around. If there was nothing in its way, that's just how it works. The bones are wrapping all the way around our bodies. So watch me breathe like this, meaning I'm going to kind of tuck my shirts a little bit closely, pretty snug around my rib cage, and I'll just breathe, and you can watch my rib cage actually expand as I breathe in and then contract again as I breathe out. Watch this. So the rib cage actually moves. The bones actually do bend and move of the ribs. So what I'm saying is, when we have side seams on our tops, what we have is something that's just different in only one location, right at the very side, on either side of the body, than the rest of the whole front of the clothing or the rest of the whole rear of the clothing. The whole front of my shirt here, and this is some good context so you can see what's going on here. I have, for the visual sake, two shirts that are the same. This shirt that's underneath is inside out, and then the shirt that's on top is the right way, okay, the normal way you'd wear it. And I did that on purpose for this video's sake, so you can see what the side seams are doing, can be doing, could be doing, and how it's affecting breathing when we have side seams on our tops, especially something similar to this design, and I'll discuss this as thoroughly as I do, pretty darn thoroughly throughout this video, because this is the point, is what the side seams are doing to affect the way that we naturally breathe. We've got to remember, God designed the human body to work. We don't have a claim that it's impossible to train the human being to get it to do anything. Once you stop training your body after you've gotten it to maybe do something, it'll stop doing that thing. You can't lift as much weight as you trained to get to do. Once you stop doing it, you lose that strength and that capability back to your normal in your own specific body. There's always a normal to the human being. In our own individualistic situations, yes, there's a normal. So we don't have a claim on it, but this is the point, is it's like the animals. You don't see animals doing stretching routines or workout routines to try to get their body to do something. It's physically impossible, really, to have any kind of lasting thing like that. It's just what it is. It's a body of flesh and blood and bones. I'm tripping up over my words because it's as real as it gets. As I say, it's as obvious as it is once you see it. Some of these phrases I say often under In the Image Clothing Company, those are a couple of them because, yeah, it's just what it is. It's a machine. Okay? Now, God designed the body to work, and it just would within our own individualistic situations, all right? We've got our own things. I mean, yeah, if you're born with like a birth defect, I'm not trying to say that your body should just work, you know, like normally, like the universal human design should. No, I get it. Individualistic situations, I understand. But God designed the body in its general universal human design to just function. That's why we have it. It's the only thing that we have, an episode title of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. The only thing we actually have in this life is our bodies. Everything can come or it can go only from what's essentially our bodies that it's coming to or leaving. Once our bodies leave, we leave this physical life. It's a physical thing. It's what makes up this physical life we have. So, yeah, it should work. That's why it's there, okay? Meaning, we shouldn't have these things like posture problems and chronic pain that we don't really understand how to get to the bottom of if and when we don't. But we place clothing on our bodies. It's in our way, physically. It's physically just in our way. No sales pitch. You don't have to care to even want to try to care about clothing, and especially not fashion. That's taking clothing a step farther, you know, that you don't have to care about is the point. No, but if you're placing something on your body to clothe it with, you have to be intentional or your body's damaged. If the clothing's not meshing with your body's functioning, like I'm saying, there's only one way the body works. It's not our choices as human beings. It's God's design. Designed in the image of Jesus Christ, it just grew itself. And so our bodies would naturally be able to breathe, just how they're designed to. We've got side seams in the way. There's a lot of things that could be, quote, in the way, unquote, of breathing that we're clothing our bodies with. Just the literal wording. You place something on your body has to expand and contract these lungs and the ribs surrounding them always. Breath is the essence of human life. It's the first thing. The thing you can go the least amount of time without before you die. There's an episode of In the Image Clothing Company podcast titled Oxygen. Okay. Breathing is the focus of life. Okay. Goes back to biblical times. God breathed life into Adam's nostrils. And there's the first man. Okay, that's how it's worded in the Holy Bible. Now, here's the thing. Okay. The body's got its neutral position. So watch this. We talk about this. A video under In the Image Clothing Company's main side, keeping elbows at the natural waist. But it's also just a focus in daily life. The natural waist is above these hip bones, but below the lowest ribs, where there's no bones until we get to the center line of the body at the spine. No matter how you carry fat content, we've got these bones in the forearm, the radius and ulna, coming up and meeting the upper arm bone, called the humerus, and this is the elbow joint. It's just 3 bones. It naturally sits at our natural waist. There you go. Natural, neutral, and normal. Okay. The elbow has to just have a spot where it can bend side to side. Well, where the spine can bend side to side without the elbows hitting into the hip bones or just being in an improper place where they can't have natural motion. Okay. So what we have is the bottom end of this upper arm bone, called the humerus, is the elbow. The top end of this upper arm bone, called the humerus, is the shoulder. Anywhere the elbow goes, the shoulder goes. It's the exact same thing. It's an immovable by itself bone, the upper arm bone. Okay, so I show it like this as well. When we lock the hand out from the shoulder by straightening the elbow between the two, the hand becomes the shoulder. Okay, they do the exact same thing. Rotation wise, or just anywhere the elbow goes, the shoulder goes, really anywhere the hand goes, the shoulder goes, when we lock them out at the elbow between the hand and shoulder. Okay, same thing with the foot and the hip. You lock the foot out from the hip by straightening the knee between the two, and the foot and the hip do the exact same thing. Okay, it basically just becomes a stick from the fingertip up to the shoulder capsule. Okay, or from the toe tips with our different length toes up to the hip capsule. We've also got different length fingers that are different lengths than our thumb, and our fingers wrap evenly around our thumb. We've got to hold things rounded, you know. The open palm and internal rotation, a video here under In the Image Clothing Company's main side. Internal rotation and the pinky finger, a video here under In the Image Clothing Company's main side. The body's just what it is, okay? It's a mechanical machine. It's impossible to train it, to get it to do anything. I don't have a claim on that could possibly matter, so don't believe me, but that's the truth, okay? We discuss it in such depth you couldn't possibly dispute it. Seriously, that's why we do this. Our long videos is what I mean by this in this case. But the body, yeah. What I'm saying with the elbows at the natural waist is our tops have to fit us, or else the elbows just don't sit at the natural waist. If we've got an oversized top, pulls down on our shoulders, and the shoulder is the elbow, okay? It's the same thing. We pivot up and internal rotation on this collarbone or clavicle. Or we pivot down and external rotation, up and in or down and out on the collarbone or clavicle. It travels through the shoulder out to the fingertips. There's a neutral. Okay, there's only one way the human body could ever work. I'm only going to give the context on that I do in this video, because let's focus on breathing, and that's a focus, but just clothing has to fit. We make it very clear under In the Image Clothing Company where and how clothing sits on the body. Gravity having the same effect on our clothing that it has on our bodies. It's the only thing physically placed on us. It has to work for our bodies, where our bodies can't physically work. Our bodies are just a physical thing, just a mechanical machine. So we have breathing, where it's the same thing, you know, as eating or speaking or sleeping. These are physical things. Breathing is just a physical motion happening of the ribs moving. Okay, speaking is just a physical motion of the lower jawbone called the mandible moving. Same with eating, okay? We put so much focus on the jaw under In the Image Clothing Company, and the feet and the hands, you know, everything in the body, but those are some of the big things that will travel through the rest of the entire body if they're damaged, with the effect that's happening to them with the damage or alteration, you know, chronic patterning. So, golly. Are we done yet? This is a hard video for me to get through because it's so big, impact-wise. Watch this. When we're breathing, we're expanding and contracting our rib cage. And if we have side seams in the way, then they're just in the way, okay? But they're only in the way right at the sides. Now, what's funny about this, ironic is really the word, is our arms are there. Out of anywhere around the rib cage, you could put something like a seam that could be in the way. You put it right between your arm and your rib cage, and you're pinching this seam, okay? We live in a right-handed world. 85%, give or take, of human beings are right-handed, okay? And so we're just using the right side of our bodies more than the left side of our bodies if you're right-hand dominant, and we need to stay centered. You okay, Dante? He's in the shade, but he's sure panting. I gave him food and water right before we came over here. He just seems really hot and tired. Should probably cut his hair today or the next few days, a little bit shorter. Dante, are you okay, buddy? I actually kind of want to make sure he's okay real quick. You okay? Dante? Hey. Up. He just wasn't even really responding. You okay? It's okay. You're just about completely in the shade right there. All right. Just wanted to make sure to check on him. Seriously, he's breathing pretty hard. It's just pretty warm out here. It's like 70-something degrees Fahrenheit, probably, give or take. Just a haircut is the big thing. His hair could be a lot shorter than it is. Man. All right, he's okay. I just wanted to make sure because he sure is panting. All right. Oh, you know what's so funny about that? No joke, is we're talking about breathing. That's what I'm saying, you know. In the Image Clothing Company poodles, man, that's so humbling. Yeah, that's why we've got to keep our dog collars centered and light and minimal and just balanced weight-wise, you know. Anything you place onto a dog, it's hard for them to breathe anyway. If it's excessively hot and they're panting like that, well, if their bodies are excessively hot is what I mean, you know. Yeah. In the Image Clothing Company poodles, I mean, that's really what we're doing, is stuff like that. That's why we have that fourth of our company, our dog fourth, if you will. Anyway, yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. You know, it gets hot. Shoot, man, this video got even more real as it man, it gets hot sometimes, you know, and sometimes that makes it harder to breathe in ways, or it gets excessively cold. When I say excessively, I mean, like I said with the dogs, it's the body that gets excessively hot or cold. You know, trying to regulate its own temperature, 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, when it's hotter than it's used to outside, or when it's colder than it's used to outside, or just like, you know, an extreme for the body itself. There's a video here under In the Image Clothing Company's main site titled Hot versus Cold in the Body. All right, there you go. So the bodies actually work better when it's warmer or when it's hotter. Okay, the blood can circulate easier. You know, there's more motion in the body, more actual energy, you know, physical motion of the molecules, and the body has more ability to work, you know, physically when it's hotter or warmer. But anyway, what I'm saying is the focus is side seams. Like I was discussing, we could talk about anything that could affect our breathing that we're clothing our bodies with, but the side seams, our rib cage just needs to fully expand. And what happens is, if I didn't have these two shirts on, you know, the one underneath is inside out and the one over top is the right way, then the inside of this shirt against my skin would just look like this, with this seam just against my skin, okay? And it's not just against the skin, but it's right there against the side of the rib cage, and it's being pinched between the arm and the rib cage. This is the thing. We've got a video here under In the Image Clothing Company's main site titled Lifting the Right Side of the Body. And that's what I was saying, is we live in this right-handed world where if we're using the right side of our bodies more than the left, then if we get into a pattern of doing this, our bodies will drop lower on the right side, go more external with the rotation, and be farther away from our body's center line. And so we're just in an imbalance, and this travels through our whole body. And this is what, you know, is happening. One of the ways that scar tissue and bone spurs are being built up in the body, where the muscles are pulling on the bones where they connect to them through the tendons, and we get excessive bone mass built up in locations where we need to break up this bone spur that's being created where it is in the body in this right-handed world. And the scar tissue, you know, where the muscles are trying to hold on to the bones when they're not able to track in line, just the only way the bones are shaped and the muscles pull, you know, then what happens is our bodies build up scar tissue. Yes, that's the point. That's what I'm saying. It's just so real. That's what I mean. We have this need to breathe naturally, and naturally, here comes the wind. Speaking of natural, the wind noise, an episode title of In the Image Clothing Company podcast. There you go. Yeah, naturally our lungs will expand and contract just all the way around, what we could call 360 degrees. That's just a full circle or a circumference. And same with the ribs that encapsulate the lungs, just surround the lungs to protect the lungs. As these rib bones, they actually move all the way around. We should open and close or expand and contract actual bones of the ribs. There's a video here under In the Image Clothing Company's main site titled The Diaphragms of the Neck. Okay, so we've got these muscles down below our ribs, down in our abdomen area here, pulling. Okay, diaphragms is what the muscles are called. They pull to open the void space, or this cavity inside of our chest, our lungs, for air to rush in. That's how we breathe. We've also got muscles on the top end of the rib cage pulling up to the spine of the neck, okay, the cervical spine, to expand the rib cage from both ends, the top and the bottom. So we just need to fully expand and contract our ribs, or we can't breathe. You know, you can do all the breathing exercises you want that are on the planet. You know, people do breath work where they sit there and they're taking really deep breaths, or they're holding their breath either all the way exhaled, you know, at the out portion of their breath, or all the way inhaled at the in portion of their breath, you know, breathing out versus breathing in, and things like this. But if you've got something just physically in the way, a side seam like this, your rib cage that should be expanding and contracting all the way around evenly, yeah, it can't. Because that's what I was saying earlier in this video, is on the front, from the very sides of our bodies at these side seams, we travel from there clear to the front center line of the body, and the whole front part of the material of the top, in this case, okay, of this t-shirt, there's no seam. It's just a smooth, even cotton, 100% cotton shirt, okay? So there's nothing there that my body physically hits into when I breathe. Okay, and same with the rear. There's nothing that my body physically hits into in the rear when I breathe and expand my rib cage. Okay, the same as the front is how the shirt is on the back. Just plain, normal material, 100% cotton. There you go. Okay, here's the point. Stretch in clothing. It didn't even exist until tens of years ago from today's date, the 25th of March, 2026. The human body only pulls. We've said it a few times in this video already. Okay. On In the Image Clothing Company's main side. What's the title? Side seams and breathing. So the muscles, the fibers of the muscles actually fire and get closer together. It's an electrical signal and system sent from the brain out through the whole body, down the brain stem, through the spine, and it travels out through the whole body to all the musculature. The muscles contract, they pull, they only ever get closer together. The other end is just them deactivating or relaxing. Okay, so muscles only pull. Remember, we have opposing muscles. Okay, muscles pull to open as well as muscles pull to close. So we've just got muscles pulling on opposing sides of every function that has motion to it. Okay, we stabilize in the center of either side. So here's the thing with the body and its ability to breathe. Well, it can't really if we're in stretchy clothing. Okay, the muscles pull to open our lungs. Even though our lungs are opening, it's like how the muscles pull to extend a hinge, even though we think we're pushing. The muscles are pulling to allow motion to happen in the body in every instance. That's how it works. Okay, so no stretch in clothing. It's one of those things I can say like this, like I can tell you that. I'm not trying to tell you what to wear, how to dress, but I can tell you how clothing your body with something has to go, right? You see what I mean? It's not my opinion, it's not my choice, it's not my design, and I don't have a say over my own body. God designed this thing. It only does what it does. So no stretch in clothing ever, okay? Ever. And it's only going to get worse as time progresses. Unnatural, artificial, and synthetic, these are synonyms with fake. Things in our food and our clothing and the things we interact with in life, these are man-made things. Matter cannot be created or destroyed, though. We only make unnatural things from natural things. So it always decomposes back to natural, but we've altered its natural state. And the human being only being natural because we literally only are this human being because it's earth that we have eaten. And that's literally what the human body is. And so the natural human being doesn't mesh with unnatural materials. Here comes the wind again. I get it. You know the sound if you can hear it. But what I'm saying is, stretch is one thing, okay? That's just a point to hit in this video, even though the title is side seams and breathing. But yeah, the side seams of our tops, it's just something in the way that's only right there in one location. Well, you could say two locations because there's two sides to our body. But it'll just change the way the rib cage expands, because what'll happen is the rib cage tries to expand and it hits into the stuff that's in the way. That's how you'd say that in all truth, is just stuff that's in the way. I'm not joking, all right? I am not joking about this, how real this is. Meaning, you know, all the breath work training, breath exercises to try to get a full breath, it's not gonna do anything past the degree of hitting this seam with your rib cage. As you breathe in and expand your rib cage, it hits into the seam that's only on the very side of your rib cage on either side. So now your ribs will just expand and contract forward and back, you know, and you'll be kind of like this. Wow, what does this look like? Bad posture, you know what I mean? Well, it's impossible to train posture with the human body's even mathematical opposing bends from bottom to top to stay vertical on Earth's vertical gravity pull, starting from its horizontal surface at the bottom of our feet. The ankles backward, the knees forward, the hips backward, the low back forward, the mid back backward, and the upper back, which is just the neck, the cervical spine, goes forward. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Get out your measuring tape. It's mathematics. Truth, it's impossible to train posture, but here's the thing. This video's title on In The Image Clothing Company's main side on the 25th of March, 2026, side seams and breathing. If you try to expand your rib cage and there's seams on your sides in the way of your rib bones bending, because they actually do bend, and expanding to open up the space inside where the lungs are for air to rush in with this difference in pressures of gases, okay? We breathe in the oxygen, but the ribs have to expand to open the space inside to be able to do that. And as they expand and they hit these side seams on the sides of our bodies, our rib cage won't expand not naturally, normally, neutrally, all the way around in 360 degrees as it should. It will try to expand. The sides of the rib cage will hit these seams, the side seams as they're called. Wow, okay. And then the front and back part of the rib cage will expand. Now you've got bad posture. But you don't have bad posture. That's not true. Bones are only the shape and length that they are. Muscles are only the shape and length that they are. Bones connect directly to each other through ligaments, and muscles connect to the bones through tendons. Things have to track in line or the body doesn't work. There's a thin layer of cartilage between the bones called cushioning. Wow, yes, okay, cushioning, that's called cartilage. I say it like that. I've said it like that quite a few times and then I've corrected myself. It's fine either way, but yeah, okay. So the bones don't wear each other out. And we can't wear the cartilage out, or else the bones do wear each other out. But this is what I'm saying. In the Image Clothing Company, only a clothing company to get to the functionality of the human body. It's the only thing physically placed on us. It's literal wording. You're clothing the body with something. If you've got side seams in the way, it'll change the way you breathe, and that'll change the way you stand, because the rib cage, the individual bones that wrap from the sternum in the front around the body's lungs and connecting to the spine in the rear, these bones, the sternum and then the spine, being in the center line of the body, meshing with Earth's vertical gravity pull, centered. Okay, mathematics, no opinion. It could matter on it. Don't believe me, but truth is truth. Yeah, this won't be able to happen naturally. Just breathing won't, okay? If there's side seams in our way, enough at all that could affect the way a rib cage can breathe, okay? Because what I'm saying with it connecting into the spine, the reason why I said that right then is because these individual rib bones connecting into the spine is our vertical support on Earth's gravity, and we need to have our spine have its natural curve in it, okay? The natural curve in the spine. I referenced the video earlier, okay? Here on In The Image Clothing Company's main side. That's what it's titled. The natural curve in the spine, the natural bend in the knee, right? These videos under In The Image Clothing Company's main side, There are even mathematical opposing bends from bottom to top on Earth's vertical gravity pull just to stand up. The bones only being the shape and length that they are, it'll never change. It's impossible to train it. Posture, or just the human being in general. It's only what it is, unless you change the shape of the bones. It's only what it is, okay? We have to allow this to happen, allowing the body to work. In the Image Clothing Company's main side slogan, there you go. So, bad posture, it's not a real thing, but it'll come from side seams as one of the things out of all the many things that are those possible, as I said in the beginning of this video, you know, imbalances of any kind in clothing. One of those is certainly side seams. And then in the Image Clothing Company's rotated seam modification, if we've got rotated seams, okay, that's even worse. And that's the proper word to use there, is worse. Worse on the body and its physical functioning being just this mechanical machine that it is placed onto our rock in space. That is our Earth, okay? It only is what it is. Yeah, so I love this. Yeah, that's the case, okay? That's the truth, that's the point. Here comes the wind. It is what it is. If you've got side seams in your way, you're not gonna breathe normal. You just can't physically expand your rib cage evenly all the way around. If you change the way your rib cage expands, you change the way that your spine can be stable and supported. You change the way that your jaw is naturally sitting, with your jaw stabilizing your entire body. You change your neutral head position, or your natural head position. We could even say your normal head position, but it's a video's title under In the Image Clothing Company's main side. The natural head position, okay? The neutral head position? The normal head position? Dante's breathing hard. He's like mouth breathing. I see his cheeks puffing out as he's laying on the ground. He's in the shade. You okay, boy? I'll check on him good when this video's over, but I don't like to see him breathing that hard unless that's really okay. You know, for him personally, I mean. We'll see. I'll check on him for sure. But, well, I'm checking on him now, but right when this video's over, I'll give him a good thorough inspection, like a real intimate one-on-one with him and make sure he's okay. If I have to carry him home, I will. It's, you know, about 1.5 miles, give or take, back to the house. But anyway, he's fine. I just want to be attentive to him, is what I'm saying, for his sake, you know, to let him know, like, I'm there for him. What I'm saying is, yeah, we can't breathe normal if there's something in the way of the expansion of our rib cage. And there's nothing in clothing that's quite in the way that side seams are when it comes to breathing. Because you've got a zipper, maybe, or a button-up band of, you know, material in the center of a top. You zip it up, it's right in the center on the bone of your sternum. You button up a shirt, it's right in the center on the bone of your sternum. In the Image Clothing Company's clothing, our Do Everything clothing, staying centered, fitting correct, being made in all the ways we can from 100% natural materials. And our Do Everything dog products, the same thing, staying centered and fitting the dogs properly, being made in all the ways we can from 100% natural materials, right? Once we have it available, as of today's date, we don't yet, okay, the 25th of March, 2026. But button-ups, if they sit right in the center line of your body on the sternum, it's not gonna affect your rib cage that much, because that's already just a vertical bone. And you've just got material like a zipper or a button strip sitting on that bone. The rib cage bones, though, of the ribs are horizontal, and they just work differently. Meaning they just connect to the body differently. They're horizontal, and they expand and contract and actually bend and move. The vertical bone of the sternum in the center line of the body in the front, it doesn't really move. You know, it's just a bone. I hope he's okay. I don't hope for things, but meaning he's got to be okay. What I'm saying is, like, he should be totally fine. He's in the shade, and he had enough food and water before we came. I'm gonna hold him. Hey, Dante, up. Hey, Dante. Get up, dog. I'm gonna kind of force you to make sure you can do it. Get up. Up. Hey. All right, big baby. It's not an insult. I just mean I'm gonna hold him like a baby. Good. It's okay. Okay. Good dog. Okay, good. Are you okay, bud? See, he's fine. He's just breathing kind of hard. Yeah, nothing's going to affect the rib cage quite like side seams, because things right in the center line of the front of the body, the ribs can still have their motion with something sitting on the sternum like a zipper or a button up top. If we've got tags in the rear of our tops, one of the Image Clothing Company's 2 prerequisites is removing all tags from clothing. Tags are one of those things like stretch in clothing. They just didn't even exist until just tens of years ago from today's date, the 25th of March, 2026. Tags are just causing a physical gap. It's like having a literal leaf from a tree between your clothing and your body. So we have to remove the tags because they're just causing the skeletal system to be out of its only normal, neutral or natural position. And or the tags just don't allow musculature to activate, either not fully or maybe not even at all in ways if, right? So what I'm saying is our bodies try to compensate when there's just something in the way. That's what we're talking about here with the side seams. The tags are even more of a sizable thing, if you will, at this time period at least. You know, 25th of March, 2026, than the side seams are in general clothing design, you know. It's fairly universal across the whole planet Earth nowadays, like I was saying. I mean, that's the big point too, is it's not like we're wearing all these different kinds of designs of clothing all that often, at least in 2026 currently. No, I mean, we've got clothing design and it almost always looks just about the exact same, okay? So our bodies are almost always dealing with just about the exact same imbalances, and that's what really gets us into patterning, okay? Do you see what I mean? Day after day after day, our body's having to try to work around this. Our body's trying to breathe, and there's just side seams in the way, okay? Because we've got our arms as well. I didn't finish saying what I was saying earlier. I started to say, well, I referenced a video is the point, and I was gonna say more about it. Lifting the right side of the body. Because in this right-handed world, with our right side getting dropped more, with designs of products being used for the right hand over the left hand, you know, if they're just for one hand usage, with the vast majority of human beings being right-handed, picture like a pair of scissors. It's almost always right-handed, you know? It just doesn't really work quite the same at all, not very well with the left hand. Clothing design, to the degree that it is right-handed. If we're tying right-handed knots on the body, like shoelaces, drawstrings, anything like this, or anything at all tied on or around the body, then a right-handed knot, a traditional right-handed knot, would be actually taking the left side over the right, okay? We're off to the right side of our bodies, and the right side of our bodies drops, is more external with the rotation, and is just farther away from the body, like I was saying earlier, with this right-handed patterning. But here's the big focus. Is the side seam of our top, and I get the wind noise, I understand. Dante is fine. I can tell now. He's just breathing hard, but he's okay. This video is humbling me so much. Breathing. Breath is the essence of human life. I mean, it's the thing, man. It's so hard for people to breathe nowadays in 2026, you know, and around this time period, past few years. And that's what I mean is universal clothing design. And that's what I mean when I say we don't have an opinion on anything that could matter. So don't believe us. But let's get down to the truth. The only thing physically placed on us, if it is restricting our ability to breathe, then our ability to breathe is restricted because of our clothing. So as you can see here, the reason I put this same shirt underneath, right? I have 2 of the same shirts, and the one that's actually against my body, it's smooth here where the side seam is, because it's the outside actually of the shirt, because I have the shirt inside out, so it's now against my body with this smooth part, versus having this seam, this just, I mean, this is really proper wording so you can hear what I really am saying. Poking into your rib cage. You're trying to breathe, and you're expanding your rib cage into your arm, and between there you're pinching. Okay, yeah, that's kind of what's happening. Is you're pinching the seam is the point between your arm and your rib cage. So you breathe in, your arms come to your sides, but then it's like, whoa, let me breathe out because now I'm pinching something between my arm and my side. Your body is saying to you, essentially. Your body does so much subconsciously. Like I was saying earlier, that your heart's beating, your lungs are breathing, your eyes are blinking. Your body's doing a lot subconsciously, unconsciously, right? Without you thinking about it. Your body just does what it does. Even just walking, we don't think about it. Like, pick up a foot, all right, put it forward and step down. Now pick up the other foot and put it forward and step down. The body just does these things. It just knows how to do what it does. God is orchestrating everything. Lifting the right side of the body. That video is titled under In the Image Clothing Company's main side. The thing is, when you lift the right side of the body, it comes closer to the body. Watch this. As we lift up with like one of our shoulders, it has to come in because the collarbone or the clavicle pivots up and in. It's this top of the sternum here in the center line of the body at one end, and then it comes up and out and becomes the shoulder. It's one of the three bones of the shoulder. Okay, so this collarbone or the clavicle, it meets bone to bone on either end of it directly. And so it pivots up and in, or it goes down and out, like I was saying earlier. And this is what happens. Yikes, Mr. Wasp, right in my face. If we can't lift our bodies to expand our rib cage, because as we do that, we hit our arm into the side seam that's against our rib cage, and then we're just pressing the seam into our ribs as they're trying to expand. The seam pressing into them is trying to contract them, and it's this clashing combat. So it's hard to breathe, and it feels more uncomfortable the deeper you breathe when you have a side seam in your top between your arm and your rib cage. So this is what I'm saying. I mean, imagine like just getting anxious, getting a little nervous about something. You start breathing deeper. Your side seam gets pinched between your rib cage and your arm, and you try to exhale. You try to breathe out because as you breathe in to expand your rib cage, you're hitting that side seam even more. It's just hard to breathe. Clothing. I mean, there's no opinion to this. This is what I mean. Modern design of clothing is fairly universally shipped across the entire planet Earth in 2026. All right, the 24th of March, today's date. So that's this video's title. In the Image Clothing Company's main side, through the wind noise, I get it. Side seams and breathing. In order to expand the rib cage, you have to lift the ribs up. As you do this, the arms come to the sides. The rib cage expands left and right, and we pinch the inside of the arm and the rib cage together, sandwiching between them this side seam of our top, okay? And that's poking into our rib cage, okay? It's uncomfortable to breathe. Clothing, truly, is the only fix to human beings' physical problems. There's no sales pitch, no new information, no opinion. Don't believe us because truth is truth. The fix is maybe, never wear clothing at all, okay? Never have anything on your body to possibly alter it. But when it comes to wearing clothing, we have to. For many reasons, it's a commandment by God to stay modest. Like I was saying earlier, though, it keeps us safe and protected from the elements, the heat, the cold, windstorms, whatever it is. Weather, right? It's just got to work. Joints of material meshing with joints of body parts. Just keeping things out of the way of hinges and rotations and levers in the body. Clothing, in the Image Clothing Company. So So there you go. That's what I'm saying. Side seams and breathing. But this is another point with breathing and the side seams, is if we're reaching forward, the shoulders only ever work behind the head. We discussed this. We give really deep explanations on the anatomy of how this works on the body. You have to start with your feet on the ground. If you have your heels on your shoes, okay, meaning you take your feet heels off God's earth from their neutral, and you elevate them with man-made heels on your man-made shoes, you change the entire body's bends, traveling up the whole body, and so the shoulders come forward. That's just how it would work, just because of the anatomy of the body and just Earth's vertical gravity pull. So, okay, man. See what I'm saying? Truth is truth. It's not my choice. What I am saying is the shoulders naturally sit behind the head. The arms naturally hang, you know, in a way where they can be just a little bit behind the body, and that's neutral, okay? Just with Earth's gravity's pull down on them because of the location of where the shoulders connect to the body. One of the three bones of the shoulder blade or the scapula, these big bones on our upper backs, they sit behind the rib cage. Wow, there you go, breathing, right? That's what I mean. In order to expand the rib cage all the way, these bones, the scapulas or shoulder blades, only sit behind the rib cage anyway. So as we expand the ribs, that would reinforce those scapulas, especially being behind the body, you know? The rib cage opening would be almost pushing those bones back. Not that that's what it's doing, but just meaning that shows you that the shoulders have to be behind the head, you know? And that's just where they connect too, mechanically. All right, so yeah, what I'm saying is we have side seams, okay? And the side seams are just being pulled down with Earth's gravity, kind of determining where the body's vertical front to back is, depending on where those side seams are. Because as we try to reach our arms forward, that side seam, like I was saying earlier, just doesn't move as much as the rest of the clothing item. The whole front or the whole back of the clothing, there's no seam in the case of a t-shirt like this one here that you can see in this video. But on the very sides where those seams are, it just doesn't move as much because you've got two pieces of material, the front and the back of the top material joining, and it's just this vertical line where they've stitched these two pieces of fabric together. And so you try to reach forward, and this seam is still staying in one location. It's wanting to stay where it is, just vertically with Earth's gravity pull. And so you can't reach as far as you could if there was as much motion here on the side of our rib cage at the side seam as there is everywhere else on the front or the rear of the clothing item's material of the top. Okay, there you go. That's what I'm saying. You have to be able to reach fully, and you'll reach forward until you hit that side seam's like end point of its free moving motion, and then you pull your spine forward with your arms, okay? You change the natural curve in your spine and then you can't breathe. Your rib cage is connecting into your spine. Do you see what I mean? Do you see what I mean? I don't have an opinion on this, so don't believe me. Truth is truth, though, is what I'm saying. Side seams, it's gonna make it so hard to breathe. Side seams and breathing. In the Image Clothing Company's main side, the 25th of March, 2026. There you go, okay? That's it. That's about it, is really what I mean. We can discuss all the things that it could potentially be just changing and altering in our natural way we breathe when it comes to the side seam of a top, okay? And then especially, like I was saying, if it's rotated, now we don't even have them sitting actually at our sides, but they're rotating, not quite at our sides. You know, in the Image Clothing Company's rotated seam modification, one of our many free modifications in clothing. Okay, yeah. We just need it to be able to move. Our bodies have to move. They're a mechanical machine. That's what they do, okay? Anyway, in the Image Clothing Company music, another one of our forwards, what we do is have discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ on In the Image Clothing Company podcast. But on In the Image Clothing Company music, That's awesome. We show the sizing and setup of guitar as one of the things to not alter the neutral wrist. Straight out from the outside of the forearm, down and out that pinky finger, that's the neutral to the wrist, and the natural rounding to our hands as well, okay, that correlates with the arches in our feet. If the arches in our feet are altered, the arches in our hands will be, and vice versa. If we alter the arches in our hands, we'll alter our feet, okay? Those natural gripped arches in the feet. The hands and the feet are just about the exact same thing, okay, mechanically, in a lot of ways. I mean, the fingers are a lot longer than the toes. We have an opposable thumb, and our big toe isn't opposable. But, you know, in a lot of ways, the hands and the feet are extremely similar. So, anyway, rhythm and poetry, lyricism, spoken word, singing, guitar playing, geared around the gospel of Jesus Christ with the messages under In the Image Clothing Company music. You hear that airplane? I do. Okay. Yeah. So, the thing with breathing is it's not something you can choose to do or not, right? You can't choose to just not breathe is what I mean, and still be alive. When you're speaking, you're breathing. When you're sleeping, you're breathing. When you're eating, you're breathing. When you're standing, you're breathing. When you're walking, you're breathing. You know, singing. In the Image Clothing Company music, we make music. And in order to sing or even just speak or anything like this, it's breath. We're just exhaling carbon dioxide, really, right? But we're just breathing out is the point. Over our larynx, over our voice box. There's a video here under In the Image Clothing Company's main site titled Scar Tissue Around the Larynx. Okay. Anyway, yeah. We do what we do here. We allow the body to work. Dante and I will be moving down to St. George, Utah. About 3.5 hours south driving distance from here, where we're currently at in Utah County. We will be based, as in the Image Clothing Company, in St. George, Utah for life. We've got about a month, give or take, or a little bit less maybe, from today's date, the 25th of March, 2026. And Dante and I will move down there. He's not breathing as heavy now. He's fine. He might have just needed to be reassured. I think that's why I was putting so much like attention and focus on him. I think that's what he needed, is just to like be let know that it was okay. I picked him up and held him for a few seconds, and then he's just fine. He's not even panting. Yeah, he's fine. But anyway, yeah, St. George, Utah, it's a true desert, okay? Beautiful sandstone, red rock, hot in the summers, relatively warm in the winters, at least for Utah, okay? It gets cold in Utah, in most parts of it, in the winter, okay? But, yeah, there you go, you know? We'll get people into nature and dogs into nature through what we title Poodle Parade events. Bring your poodles, purebred of any size or mixed poodles of any size, here to the state of Utah. We live up Utah for the sake of the beautiful, diverse nature. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints headquarters is here in the state of Utah. Come for the events, though, always. The reason we're doing the events, not for In the Image Clothing Company's team. We'll have things like, well, we'll do all the events we do. Poodle parades are just one of the events, and then there's subcategories like Clean the Creek or Rid the Rubbish, specific poodle parade events for the environment, actually picking up trash, you know, for the planet Earth. We'll do a lot of things like this, you know, for the environment. We'll have our building down there in St. George, Utah, where we ship our products out from. We'll have our team members there, house our poodles there. We'll breed purebred standard poodles to advocate for the importance and the health of purebred dogs. You just about never have a mixed dog in nature, okay? It pretty much doesn't happen. In our modern man-made domesticated societies that we put our dogs into, if we can word it like that, if you see what I mean. We've got mixed dog breeds and it becomes very unhealthy. A lot of dogs end up in shelters because improper breeding before birth. The fix to animals not being in shelters is not adopting animals from shelters. The fix is to not have them be there in the first place. You know, proper breeding before the dog's even born to set the dog up for success with a healthy life. Dante is a rescue from the South Utah Valley Animal Shelter, okay, just for context. This standard poodle down here, my first of many. St. George, Utah, though. It'll be awesome. Okay, so come hang out if you'd like to, or just check out what we do under the gift of video, under all four sides of In the Image Clothing Company. We do a lot of video and always will. You can hang out with us through the videos, if you will, you know, if you can see what I mean. But there you go. You know, we'll always have good products. Once we start selling them, we'll branch out into what we do product wise, but certainly human being clothing and dog products, the general things, you know, collars, leashes, harnesses, those type of things for the dogs. And so there you go. Just know, yeah, I mean, you've got side seams on your clothing. You're going to restrict the motion of the clothing item, okay, only where that seam is. Everywhere else, this top can just move naturally and in any direction that it could, because the fabric is just woven all together just naturally all throughout the whole top, except for right at the side seam. It can only move as it can and how it can, because it's got stitching material there holding these two ends of the front and the rear of the clothing together. And it's just this vertical line down the side, okay, side seam of our clothing. And we've got Earth's gravity, so yeah, okay. Ideally tubular t-shirts, okay? Meaning if you have something against your rib cage, that's essentially just about kind of what I've done here. Meaning this almost makes it like that, where I've put this shirt that's actually against my body inside out, so the side seam isn't actually pressing against my rib cage and affecting the way my rib cage can expand and contract, changing the way I breathe in every single second of your life. You're breathing. If you're not breathing, you've got just minutes, like 4, give or take, minutes, right, until you die. Wow. Holy cow. Yeah, okay, so we have to breathe always, or else you don't live anymore. And so there's only one way the body breathes. There's only one way these rib bones connect to the sternum and connect to the spine. There's only one natural curve position to the spine, okay? There's only one way the body works. There's no opinion to it. You'll never train it to do anything. You'll never train it. It's impossible. Don't believe me. And you've got to see that with context. I understand. More than it might seem, if you see what I mean. but yeah, you've got to allow your body to work. You have to. And so the thing is, we just don't know what we don't know. You can't be held accountable for what you don't know. How are we going to know that we have rotated seams in our clothing if we don't? I was 24 years old until I even realized this. Okay, a couple of years ago. 26 currently. Okay, on the 25th of March 2026. But yeah, side seams and breathing. All right, they're in your way. You know, I mean, sitting down, well, your rib cage just expands and contracts with the natural curve in your spine. Now you sit down somewhere and that natural curve in your spine is fighting this vertical straight line of this side seam. Okay, side seams and breathing. There you go. Thank you. Goodbye.